Before the onset of the Second World War, the Luftwaffe, Germany's air force, devoted considerable time and resources to the advancement of aircraft technology. By the late 1930s, the need arose for a new versatile twin-engine aircraft. Amidst this demand, the Arado aircraft manufacturer unveiled its project dubbed the AR-240. Initially touted for its promising capabilities, the aircraft faced significant setbacks attributed to handling issues and mechanical failures. These challenges rendered it unsuitable for active service, resulting in only a handful being made. Despite a limited operational stint within the Luftwaffe, the AR-240 failed to fulfill its potential. In 1938, the German Ministry of Aviation, or Reichsluftfahrtministerium, expressed keen interest in the creation of a versatile twin-engine aircraft. This decision stemmed from the necessity of finding a suitable successor to the Me-110. One of the aircraft manufacturing companies that responded to this call was Arado Flugzeugwerk. Despite being perhaps less renowned than other German aircraft manufacturers, Arado had achieved notable success with their products prior to and during the Second World War. Among these were the AR-66 and AR-96 trainers, the AR-196 reconnaissance aircraft, and notably the AR-234, which became the world's first operational jet bomber. In early 1939, Arado was awarded a contract for the construction of 3 prototypes of the new multi-purpose aircraft. Initially designated as E-240, it was later renamed the AR-240. The development of this aircraft was spearheaded by an Arado team of designers and engineers led by Walter Blum and Wilhelm van Ness. As work on the first prototype progressed, Arado received an expanded order from the RLM for an additional 10 prototypes. The AR-240 was conceived as a 2-seater, twin-engined, mid-wing monoplane, boasting a fuselage created with a monocoque design and stressed skin. Its wings featured a central rectangular section complemented by trapezoidal outer parts, supported by a 2-part spar structure. An intriguing aspect was the integration of flaps with ailerons, a configuration previously trialed on the AR-198. Additionally, early prototypes experimented with automatic leading-edge slats, although this feature was eventually discarded. Each wing housed 4 fuel tanks, with a collective capacity of 2,300 liters, all equipped with self-sealing systems. The rear tail unit comprised 2 fins and rudders. The cockpit adopted a back-to-back seating arrangement, positioning the pilot at the front and the radio operator, who was also the rear gunner, at the back. Fully pressurized, the AR-240 cockpit featured a jettisonable canopy for emergency situations. For landing, the AR-240 employed a conventional retractable gear system comprising 2 front wheels retracting outward into the engine nacelles, while a smaller tail wheel retracted into the rear fuselage section. Throughout its development, the AR-240 underwent testing with various engine types as the designers encountered challenges in securing a suitable power plant. The prototype series initially utilized the Daimler-Benz DB601A and 603A engines. The first operational AR-240 V1 prototype was completed in early 1940, initially equipped with 2 DB601 engines, which were later replaced by 2 DB603E engines. This prototype underwent various evaluation test flights until October 1941, when it was inexplicably removed from service, presumably due to an accident. The initial test results were disappointing, revealing significant control issues during flight. Despite these setbacks, work on the project persisted. It is believed that the second prototype underwent flight testing around September 1940. By the end of February 1941, this prototype had been relocated to Rechlin for further testing and evaluation. In May 1941, it was upgraded with new DB603 engines and armed with 2 7.92mm MG-17 machine guns and 2 20mm MG-151 cannons. In November 1941, modifications were made to adapt this aircraft for dive bombing trials. The precise fate of this prototype remains uncertain, but it was likely that it was eventually scrapped. The V3 prototype underwent its inaugural test flight in May 1941, distinguished by the relocation of the pilot cockpit further towards the nose compared to its predecessors. This adjustment aimed to enhance the overall visibility for both the pilot and the secondary crew member during flight operations. Additionally, the original rear tail position drive brakes were substituted with a cone and ventral fins. Early in 1942, numerous pressure cabin tests were conducted on this prototype before it was assigned to frontline units for further reconnaissance operations over the UK. Siegfried Kniemeyer piloted the aircraft during these operational sorties. Despite lacking defense armament, the AR-240's remarkable speed helped avert confrontations with British interceptors. However, akin to its predecessors, the fate of this prototype remains uncertain. The V4 prototype was designated for dive bomber testing. Its maiden flight took place on June 19, 1941, boasting two 1,750 horsepower DB603A engines. Customized for its role, it underwent modifications including the installation of dive brakes and a payload capacity for 8 50-kilogram bombs positioned under the fuselage. Furthermore, the fuselage was elongated to about 13 meters. Conducting various test flights in France and the Mediterranean, the V4's service life was abruptly cut short due to a flight accident in August 1941. The V5 prototype embarked on its maiden test flight in September 1941, marking a significant milestone in aviation history. What adds intrigue to its story is that it wasn't even constructed by Arado, but rather AGO Flugzeugwerken. Armed with two MG-17 machine guns situated in its wings, it also boasted the two same-caliber MG-81 machine guns positioned in remotely controlled turrets. By late March 1942, this aircraft had been assigned to the reconnaissance group under command of the German Air Forces. Later in 1942, it found its place in the research station dedicated to high-altitude flights. Subsequently, several more prototypes were manufactured and utilized for various flight and equipment testing purposes. Following a somewhat disappointing testing phase with the prototypes, Arado embarked on the development of the AR-240A variant with hopes of its adoption for service. An initial production order was placed for at least 40 of these aircraft. Initially, the AR-240A was designed to be powered by two 1,750 horsepower DB603A1 engines equipped with 4-blade metal propellers. The armament chosen for this version were two MG-151 cannons with 300 rounds of ammunition for each gun, positioned in the fuselage floor, with two additional cannons in the same ammunition load located in the wing roots. There was also an option to enhance firepower by adding two more cannons. Furthermore, defensive capabilities could be augmented with two defense turrets equipped with MG-131s, which could be mounted under and above the fuselage. The AR-240A had a maximum payload capacity of up to 1,800 kilograms for bombs, or 288 smaller 2.5 kilogram incendiary and fragmentation bombs. The AR-240A1 underwent test flights from June to September 1942 before being transferred to the Luftwaffe. It entered frontline service near Kharkiv in late 1942. Tragically, on February 16, 1943, an AR-240A1 was lost in flight due to a mechanical failure, resulting in the loss of both crew members. Despite this setback, subsequent aircraft of this variant were produced in an attempt to address the AR-240's poor flight performance. Structural changes were made, such as redesigning the cockpit interior for the A3 variant to reposition the rear radio operator or gunner to face forward and introducing two BMW 801 TJ engines. The AR-240A3 exhibited the most promising flight performance compared to its predecessors. Following extensive testing, it was deployed to frontline service in Italy from June 1943. However, it met with an unfortunate crash landing that rendered the aircraft completely destroyed, leading to its scrapping. Despite further production, it became evident that the AR-240's inherent issues with controls could not be rectified. The AR-240 suffered from severe handling issues across all three axes, particularly during landing, resulting in a lot of crash landings. Due to its unsafe flying characteristics, the AR-240 was never officially adopted for service, leading to cancellation of initial production orders and eventual termination of the project by the RLM at the end of 1942. Determining the exact number of aircraft produced is challenging due to the modification of some prototype aircraft for the limited A series. It is estimated that between 12 to 18 AR-240 aircraft, including prototypes and A-series variants, were ever built. Although the aircraft displayed poor handling characteristics almost from its start, Arado officials remained optimistic and proposed several new versions. Despite these efforts, the AR-240 never progressed beyond a small, mostly prototype production stage, rendering these proposals futile. Among these propositions, the AR-240B was designed as a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft, while the AR-240C was intended as a bomber, with only one prototype potentially being built. Variants AR-240D to F were planned to incorporate new engines. Additionally, one AR-240 was possibly outfitted with a massive 7.5 cm anti-tank gun, a weapon utilized in limited numbers on the HS-129, Although such an installation was completed, it is unlikely that this particular AR-240 underwent flight testing. Another proposed variant, the AR-240TL, was envisioned as a jet-powered night fighter by Violeta Blum in 1942, yet this concept also never materialized. Following the cancellation of the AR-240 project, Arado endeavored to enhance its overall flight performance by embarking on a new venture known as the AR-440. Leveraging the groundwork laid by the AR-240 V10 prototype, the company sought to refine and innovate upon its design. This initiative resulted in the construction of at least 4 aircraft of this type. In a bid to minimize expenses, Arado opted to repurpose numerous components from the AR-240 that were readily available. After some time spent testing it too would be rejected by RLM in October 1943. Despite being a rare aircraft, the Allies managed to capture at least one AR-240 at the end of the war. This particular aircraft was tested by the pilot Eric Brown. He was chief test pilot of the Royal Aircraft Establishment in Farnborough. Captain Brown was involved in a British takeover of the captured German war research installations and interrogating technical personnel. After observing the captured AR-240, Captain Brown received permission to fly test this aircraft. Following a brief flight, Captain Brown issued a report regarding its performance. In his report, he stated, "My assessment of the Arado AR-240 is that it is an aircraft of outstanding performance for its class and era, but it could not capitalize on this because of inferior and indeed dangerous handling characteristics. According to German information, it had a service ceiling of 10,500 meters and a maximum range of 1,186 miles, so it had great potential as a reconnaissance intruder, and indeed, it is claimed that it made such sorties over Great Britain in 1941 and 1944. Be that as it may, there can be little doubt that the AR-240 was a failure. This aircraft would be given by the Allies to the French, and its fate is unknown." This concludes our examination of the AR-240. What are your thoughts on Arado's design? Do you believe the project could have been salvaged, or was it doomed from the outset? Let us know in the comments. If you like what we do and want to see more, remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on a single video. Also, don't forget to take a look at our extensive collection of articles on our website, plain-encyclopedia.com. Thank you.